Today marks 5 years since President Obama signed the Affordable Care Act into law. The president marked the anniversary with an address to healthcare professionals and knocking critics of the law. He said, quote, "It's not the fiscal disaster critics warned about for 5 years." He went on to claim that the law has allowed 16 million more people to get health care coverage. Still, more Americans oppose the law than support it. The latest poll has 43% of Americans looking unfavorably on Obamacare, while 41% say they like it. Joining us now with more is Seton Motley of Less Government. Seton, the president claims the law has helped 16 million people get insurance. Is that the case?
Well, first of all, we can never trust this administration on its numbers or its words of any kind. We don't know if that's 16 million. Second of all, most of those people are Medicaid, which means they could have gotten on the program without this law ever having come into existence, because Medicaid existed prior to. Third, he claims it's not a fiscal disaster. It absolutely is a fiscal disaster. Medicaid was already facing, before Obamacare came on the planet, roughly $40 trillion in unfunded liability. Now you add in Obamacare. Fourth, the premiums have skyrocketed under Obamacare, and that's with the government subsidies that we don't have the money for and are adding to our $18+ trillion debt. Other than that, the program's spectacular.
Well, Senator Ted Cruz, who just announced his run for president, says the law is the biggest job killer ever. Do you agree?
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, it reduces hours to below 30 because they've set a threshold at 30 hours as full-time employment in a week. And so everyone's being cut to 29.5 on down, being made part-time rather than full-time. It's a large contributor to why there have been more part-time jobs created under President Obama than full-time jobs. And second of all, because of all the additional cost of hiring people, in addition to Social Security and all these other taxes on hiring, this new tax on hiring means that there's less people going to be hired, as we've seen in Seattle when you raise the minimum wage. Restaurants and wage jobs close down. Likewise, with Obamacare, when you add a tax to hiring somebody, there's going to be less hiring.
The president promised lower premiums, but a recent study shows that without subsidies, most are paying more. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, again, first of all, he promised us $2,500 a year less. And that, of course, the premiums have continued to go up. And in most instances have gone up higher than they would have if the law had not existed. Second of all, again, they've gone up with government money subsidies. We don't have the money for that. We're $18+ trillion in debt. And it didn't do anything to knock off premium increases anyway. They've increased at a faster rate.
Most Americans still oppose Obamacare. Do you think the Republicans can undo or replace it with something better?
Well, you need somebody besides President Obama in the White House. I think it's it was the #1 ad issue run in the 2014 election cycle. I would imagine it's going to be the single biggest issue in the 2016 election cycle. I'm optimistic that we can elect people both in the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2016 that will be more amenable to repealing and replacing Obamacare.
Seton, what about the Supreme Court? It can still rule Obamacare unconstitutional in an upcoming case. Do you think that's going to happen?
Well, if a plain text reading of the law on King versus Burwell is, if you didn't create a state-level exchange, you do not get federal subsidies. They're trying to change that because somehow, which is light years beyond me, they didn't anticipate that so many states would not create a state-level exchange, and they're trying to give them subsidies anyway. If a plain text reading of the law is made, it should be 9-0. We know it's not going to be that. Hopefully it'll be 5-4. It depends on what Anthony Kennedy has for breakfast that morning. But if they do undo it, if they make a ruling based on the plain text, it'll be overturned. If they start to factor in things like, well, gee, what happens to all those people who got Obamacare if the subsidies go away? That's not their job. Their job is a plain text reading of the law. If they start getting political like that, we may see a different ruling, a much more unpositive ruling.
Okay, Seton Motley of Less Government, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, sir, very much.